Well, hello there, and thank you very much for clicking onto this video today. So, you may have noticed over the past week or so that we had some very intense heat. And so, this is a story that's coming from The Independent. That's where I've taken my notes from. So, let's get into this problem of sewage. Now, sewage spills in lakes and swimming ponds are causing not only illness but also how in this incredibly hot weather, people are going to be exposed to it. So let's dive into it. So, as I said, over the past week, people have flocked to the seaside, to swimming pools, to lakes and rivers across the country as we've endured the hottest June temperatures on record. And yet, figures from the environmental charity Surfers Against Sewage show that last week's heat wave, there was some 2,856 hours worth of sewage was released into UK waters. This includes 99 hours worth of sewage being discharged into designated bathing waters, which are sites that have been recognised as popular for swimming and paddling and are tested regularly for the water quality. So the charity's Safer Seas and Rivers service, which provides real-time alerts for sewage discharges, triggered 46 alerts from 43 locations between 22nd of June to the 22nd of June to 26th of June. Now the data shows that Thames Water, which is not exactly a surprise, was responsible for the most sewage discharges in England. The company spilled sewage for 377 hours, the equivalent of 16 days' worth of sewage discharge, packed into just 1 week as people flocked to rivers, lakes, and coasts, and to the coast to cool off. So Thames Water is, as you probably know, Britain's biggest water supplier with 16 million customers, and has faced in the past very hefty fines for its poor environmental performance in recent years. Now, this utility company currently faces 20 billion of debt. And the reason it faces 20 billion of debt is that this is again what happens when big business and private equity is allowed to take over these important public resources. They just drive it into the ground. They basically took the money from their customers, people that can't switch to another water company. Like, you get the water company in the area that you're stuck with them. They racked up the prices, took the money, and siphoned it off to the people that run it, and through dividends to shareholders, and basically left the actual organisation with 20 billion in debt. That is the legacy of privatisation, and it has basically been left to collapse. Essentially, it's unclear as whether it's going to get completely nationalised. Is not really clear, but there isn't a current plan to save it. So meanwhile, Southern Water is responsible for the highest number of sewage discharges into bathing waters, spilling sewage for 49 hours between the 22nd of June and 26th of June. That's equivalent of 10 hours per day. So these are locations where there is a legal onus for polluters to clean up their act, and are tested for two types of bacteria, E. coli and intestinal intercocci, I believe that's pronounced. I don't know, I'm not a scientist. And if a bathing spot is rated poor, the responsible water company must take action to investigate and improve the water quality. So these spills occurred during the heavy thunderstorms last Tuesday, which saw a significant chunk of typical June monthly rainfall average arriving in a single morning, with such areas receiving an estimated 30 to 40 millimetres of rain. Now, what is staggering to me, and what may be staggering to you, is that water companies are actually legally allowed to release untreated sewage into rivers and seas after heavy rain. And the reason why is that basically our ailing pipework has not been invested in by the water companies themselves, and numerous governments have basically ignored it. So neither the people that are actually in control of the water companies have invested in the pipework, and neither is governments. And so because of our ailing pipework is to ensure it isn't completely overwhelmed, um, water companies are allowed to release untreated sewage into rivers and seas. So basically, because everyone's decided, let's just do nothing for decades. Let's just pump sewage into the water. However, the Environment Agency deems it illegal if spills occur during a dry period for more than 24 hours. So, to kind of go back into the subject of investment, so last July the government announced a 140 billion package to upgrade the sewage system to cut sewage pollution and to force companies to invest in upgrades. And bear that in mind, they've basically had to force them to do it. So through the monitoring app, the charity has received notice of 60 cases of sickness and 30 from 33 different locations in England. And these things like E. coli and various other bacteria that come from raw sewage going into the river, like they're not minor. They can really knock you out. They are a serious threat to health. So one thing to bear in mind is that prior to the heatwave, the Met Office encouraged the public to be weather ready by making informed choice on swimming locations as they head outdoors or to the coast, ready to enjoy the sunshine. But it's kind of difficult to make informed choices, isn't it, when so many of the rivers and seas and bathing pools have raw sewage floating in it. So the campaign group River Action warned of the health risks posed by poor water quality, even designated bathing spots. Poor water quality is caused by sewage spills and pollution in many of the country's waterway can put people's health at risk with illness such as E. coli or the norovirus, as well as skin, eye, and ear infections. So to go to some quotes about this, so Joe Morley, head of campaigns and advocacy at Surfers Against Sewage, said, "Rain, shine, extreme heat, whatever the weather, the polluters keep on polluting, and the public pay the price. It's beyond unacceptable that in the hottest week of the year we can't even take a dip to cool off without the risk of getting sick. Decades of neglecting infrastructure to boost profits have left us with a water system that is totally unfit for purpose. And as more extreme weather becomes the norm, this already dire situation will only get worse. Whoever walked through to the door at number 10 must prioritise fixing this national scandals. Half measures won't cut it. It's time to bring failing water companies into special administration, starting with the poster child for the broken sector, Thames Water." So, Thames Water had something trite and meaningless to say, as they always do. A DEFRA spokesman said, "After years of failure, this government has taken decisive action. It introduced new laws to ban unfair bonuses." Ooh, I'm sure that'll do nothing. For water bosses, and making it a criminal offence to cover up illegal sewage spills. Our once-in-a-generation reforms will create a powerful new regulator, end the era of self-monitoring, and bring no-notice inspections to clean up rivers, lakes and seas for good. And a Water UK spokesperson kind of chimed in and says, "No sewage spill is ever acceptable, and we're working to end them as fast as we physically can. That's why we are tripling investments over the next 5 years to halve spills from storms and overflows and to upgrade the capacity of 1,700 wastewater treatment works." So, so, so kind of let's kind of wrap up and summarize. Let's summarize, as I like to say. This is basically a legacy of greed and privatization. And you can look at this throughout many different sectors, not just the water sector, but the energy sector as well, public transportation. It's all part of a broad pattern where, under the 80s, under Margaret Thatcher, all of these publicly owned infrastructure was sold off for the pure basically for people just to make vast amount of profit. It has no benefit to anyone else. I mean, look at this. What, some 2,856 hours of sewage was just released into UK waters, and they basically because there was some heavy rain, essentially, and because no one's invested in our pipe work system for years, the system just basically can't cope anymore. It's ridiculous. and we do have more investment into it now, but they're playing catch up. The situation, this has only happened because the situation's got as bad as it is, and utility companies like Thames Water have 20 billion in debt, and who's going to actually pick up the bill for that in the end? Almost certainly the taxpayer is going to, unless the actual company itself is just completely nationalised and the debt is wiped away. It will be the taxpayer that will basically have to pick up the tab for this, because they always do. And this is just the end result and the ideals of conservatism in a nutshell, which is take public infrastructure, take public assets, sell them off for a huge amount of profit, and then 20 or 30 years later, when it all goes tits up, when it all fucks up, the taxpayer has to basically foot in the bill. And the mega rich can sail away on their massive yachts with their giant piles of money. And it's not their problem. But anyway, thank you very much for listening to my little rant today. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if it so suits you, and I will see you again another day. So, take care.